There, how about that? How about that? Thanks. Okay, so let's try it again. Hello and welcome to September 22nd. My name is TG Watkins, and what I want to show you was that we over here at profitpilot.com is where you guys can find me. And then what I wanted to show you what I was getting into is that starting last week, we just got live on stockcharts.com. So we're very excited about that. They've been a great team to work with. And I've also been doing a show with them called the Moxie Minutes. It's going to be a weekly review of the market and the Moxie indicator, kind of show you how it works and give you previews and say, hey, this is how I trade with it. So we just had our first one last week, and I think it went out pretty well. We got a lot of views on it, so hopefully that'll continue. If you guys are interested, go over there, check out stockcharts.com. We're going to be posting a link for either the indicator, and then you can check out the Moxie Minutes over there. So pretty interesting stuff that's been going on. You guys can see it here with the website that we've got going on and their plugins. So very excited to be partnering with stockcharts.com. All right, in that case, then let's get on over here, and we'll be getting up, showing you kind of what it looks like on stockcharts.com with their ACP plugin. So for one of the places I like to start typically is here on the daily, hourly time frame. We're going to be showing you the S&P, and then I'm actually going to be diving into some of the lower time frame charts because there was a pretty good day trade set up on the S&P this morning. Then I've got a little bit of a list to go through. And if you guys have any questions about any kind of tickers, let me know. I'll see if I can get to them. So one thing that we've been looking at for the S&P from last week into this week was that that price on the hourly time frame. So this is the hourly right here. That price ran right into the underside of the hourly 50, and then Friday with our quad witching day, we had price just kind of hanging out right at the daily 50. And it looked like, maybe it was going to bounce or something like that. But then we opened up with Monday. We got some big news over in China with their big property company. And so just a lot of stuff that was going on. But, a lot of times news is just kind of the excuse of why the market went down or moved in general. So that was a huge, huge, huge move on Monday that sent the market down. And really, it just got really oversold. It was outside of the third ATR, very far outside of the third ATR. And then if you look at the weekly time frame, it went right to the weekly 21. So this is typically kind of the first line of support is going to be the 21 EMA on whatever time frame we're looking at. And so we see this and we're like, okay, with the combination of the market just going straight down on Monday, outside of those third ATRs, down to the weekly 21, it's pretty likely that at some point price is going to be bouncing, price is going to start coming back up to the upside. And then if you guys are day trading or if you're looking for some moves to the upside on some lower time frame charts, that's where you can start nabbing them. So let me then bring up this. I don't actually have my charts configured on stockcharts.com yet for the 15, the 5, and the 2 minute. And what I wanted to show you here was we know that the market, the S&P, is oversold, right? Is it really going to keep pushing down, after Monday? Probably not. Most of the shorts are like, that was a good day, let's take our money and run. And you can see actually by the end of the day, Monday, price had really rallied. So this was a pretty good indication that, look, you take what you can on the short side. They tend to be moments in time. This thing got really pushed down and it's going to bounce back at some point. Okay. So then we kind of let another day settle and we're trying to get things figured out. How is price going to be moving up? We know generally it's going to because it's so oversold. It's going to just start migrating to the upside. Now, yesterday there wasn't much going on. We were still underneath all moving averages. Prices really just kind of chopped around. But today, what I was looking for, and I'll show you this actually. This was a screenshot this morning about some of the moves that I was looking at in the market. So this is actually from the Moxie indicator group. And what I was talking about was that, we know that, after such a big move down, we're pretty much going to be moving to the upside. There's a lot of air to fill the upside. What we're trying to do is figure out, is this going to be into overhead resistance longer term? Or is this actually going to be putting in a legitimate low and we're going to actually start moving up? Like maybe this was a good way to kind of clear things out and we're off to the next bull market. So what I was looking at is I want to see, price get over the 15-minute 50 And then we want to see it get out of some of this resistance. And then we'll have to say, at this point from last night, I couldn't confirm that price had actually hit the 15-minute 50. But given a little bit this morning, 10 minutes after the open, since I'm on the West Coast time, I was looking at this and I made another post and I said, hey, it looks like price actually hit the 15-minute 50. And I drew what I think this looks like as far as price moving to the upside. So then let me show you what that picture was. So I'll bring this up over here, and you can see here that this is what I was looking at. Price obviously way oversold, and then you can see this is the leg, this is the heel, this is the arch of the foot, that's the ball of the foot, and we're looking for that elf toe kind of situation. And then you can see here on the 15 that price had looked like it was starting to actually confirm off of the 15-minute 50. Now, with that as the backdrop, all of this bullish backdrop that we have, well, then let's go and look down a little bit lower to see what kind of day trading opportunities there might be. Now, I'm not much of a day trader, but the principles that I teach and the things that I do in order to swing trade can be applied to day trading. It's all kind of the same stuff. All the setups are still there. Everything can be, it's fractal basically. You can translate it from the daily hourly to the 5 and the 2 minutes. So what we saw was price open up here. You can see it open up here, kind of in that resistance of the 5-minute 200, all that kind of stuff. And then from yesterday, we could see that price actually held the 15-minute 50. And then this morning, what we saw was after that initial kind of move up, price came back down, and look what it did. It came down into an uptrending 2-minute 50 SMA with the Moxie indicator above 0, looking green, pretty good. And on top of all that, we had the 8 stay over the 21. So remember, I always talk about the 8 and 21 situation. And if the 8 is over the 21, that's at least bullish because that tells us the fast moving average is over the slow moving average. So everything was looking pretty good here, came down, bounced off of the 2-minute 50, and then started to move up and continued there. And you can even see here on the 5-minute, we had price come down into the 5-minute 50, and the 8 was over the 21, and the Moxie indicator was above 0. And actually even going into that, we had a double bottom with positive divergence, and that's the kind of setup that I talk about all the time with positive divergences and all that. And then even here on the 15, we could see also that the 15-minute 8 was over the 21. So again, the 8s were over the 21s on all 3 time frames, and price came down into the 2-minute 50, the 5-minute 50, and it had tested the 15-minute 50. All of this looked pretty good for the upside. We already knew we were basically geared to the upside because the market was so oversold it was likely to start moving up. And so if you're a day trader, this is how you can start seeing stuff and use the Moxie indicator and use the principles that I teach to make some money a couple hours in the morning. So there you go. Big moves like we saw Monday, they're just opportunities. Whether you want to take it to the short side, I guess I could show that one here too. Because if you look here on Monday, when this thing opened down, it was such a big gap down. It was likely to keep going down. And we could see here, it's kind of the same thing in reverse. Like we opened with a gap down and it came up into the 8 EMA, found that for resistance in this case, and then continued on down. And right here, continued to bounce off of or get rejected by the 2-minute 50. Same thing here. And then what we could see here is the 8 stayed below the 21 the entire time. And here on the 15, price basically flagged into the 15-minute 8 and continued on down until it finally decided to bounce. And you can see that happen right in through here. But bigger picture was price basically hit the weekly 21. So pretty interesting stuff right there. All right, so 441 gap fill. Let's see. Good to see you, Jason. How's it going out there? So hopefully you saw what I was looking at this morning as far as that setup. Now, gap fill 441, kind of like right up here. It's a possibility. I mean, we are already halfway through that gap, so that's a possibility. Now, keep in mind, we have the FOMC today. So that's going to be 2 hours before the market closes. We're going to kind of have to see where things go. It could be a little challenging to maybe reach that far today. So just keep that in mind. I'd be watching the 2-minute, making sure the price basically stays above the 2-minute 50, and making sure that price, the 8 stays over the 21 on the 5-minute time frame. And then let's kind of move over here and let me see where else we're going to be looking at. I want to make sure that, where is it? Got too many charts down here. All right, I want to see if there's anything overhead as far as the 441 area. I mean, it all looks pretty clear. The only thing I see here is the daily 8 EMA, and that lines up for about 441. So that actually might be a pretty good target, that the base of this price gap is also the base of the 8 EMA. And oftentimes, like I showed you on the way down, like right here, price running into the underside of the 15-minute 50, well, oftentimes price will migrate back to the 8. Remember, I always say off the 8, back to the 8. So we'll have to see if they can actually do that today, or if it's going to need another day. The other thing I look at, and what I had posted in right here, what I had posted in through here at the very bottom, I said, well, I would expect price to eventually head to the hourly 50. And so you can see that is another situation right here at about 441, right at that base of that gap fill, that I eventually would expect price to get to. So that's something I would be looking for and seeing if that's going to be the first target or the first area of resistance. All right, so let's dive back into this. Some of the things I wanted to show you. So AXON, this is basically taser. And some of the things I wanted to show you is when things start to roll over, because I think that's important. Catching a long trend's great, but then making sure that we don't get sucked back into a long trend and have it be a problem. Now remember, I'm showing you guys this on stockcharts.com since we just partnered with them. We got the Moxie indicator over at stockcharts.com. So if you guys have been waiting for something other than Thinkorswim, it's finally here, and this is where we can get it. So typically, I think if we're looking at the daily chart or something, we would be expecting price right about here to be bouncing off the daily 50. We have the 8 over the 21. Everything looks pretty good on this time frame. But then you give it a little bit more time, and it suddenly starts to break down below the daily 50, and you're like, why did this happen? Is there a way that I could have seen that this was going to happen other than having to wait for price to actually get to the daily 50 and then start to fade down? And in this case, I think there was, because the way that I look at this is that this last move right here, where we thought price was going to bounce off the daily 50, was an inverse trampoline move. Right through here, you can see price was over the hourly 50, but the Moxie indicator was below 0. What that's telling us that the Moxie indicator, which is energy, is negative, it's below 0 when price is over the 50, and that's a conflict. They are not agreeing with each other, and what it's actually trying to tell us is that internally, energy and momentum is actually negative, and price shouldn't be doing what it's doing. And you can see that we had that, and also at a double top. Now, maybe if you didn't quite catch that and you thought, okay, maybe there's a little bit more, there are a couple other things to see. Notice that right here, when price came back down to the daily 50, we started to have the 8 cross below the 21. And I talk about that a lot of times. You got to make sure that if you're going to try and go long, you need to have the fast moving average over the slow moving average in order to be bullish, in order to have support that direction. You can see here, it was starting to cross below. So that was kind of your first clue. And what you can see here on the hourly chart was that price was now under the hourly 50 and under a downtrending hourly 50. And so again, how does price move up? Price moves up when it's above the moving averages and uses the moving averages for support. How is price going to go down? When it's underneath those moving averages, and those moving averages are resistance. So that's what you can see. And it was giving you a clue right through here that price was underneath a downtrending moving average with the Moxie indicator definitely below 0. And that was your key on your clue that price was going to start going down and below the daily 50. So that was some pretty good stuff there. All right, so let's see, I'm seeing a couple tickers, ISWH. Can't say I know anything about this one, but yeah, that looks like that has been off on a pretty good run. Now, the only thing I'm going to be covering here is kind of showing you how I see things. So number one, here's the Moxie price trigger. That tells me that on this time frame, daily chart, that is when the Moxie indicator went from negative to positive and crossed over the 0 line. So that's your first clue. That means that the indicator's gone positive, energy momentum is positive. And we can see also in a very similar way, we got the same thing on the hourly chart. Now you give it some time, you want to make sure that price can actually test these moving averages. Let me move this up because I actually want to zoom in on that. So right in through here, the next thing I look for is I want to see price hold the hourly 50. And that's what we got. And this is a regular trampoline move. So Remember, a regular trampoline move is when price is below the 50, but the Moxie indicator is above 0. That's telling us that despite price being down, the indicator is actually still positive. Energy is still positive. And so this was a pretty good setup that we were seeing. And then here on the daily chart, just before this thing took off, you could see the 8 was over the 21, and price is holding the 21. And the Moxie indicator kept growing, kept looking great. So yeah, this was a heck of a move. So Phil, good thing for mentioning this. Appreciate you bringing this up. But and that's how that move started. And once it began, you can see this thing just never looked back. Actually looked pretty good. Hourly 50, and the 8 was over the 21 the entire time. Now, maybe this thing's getting a little overbought. It's getting pretty up there. It's quite extended. So just be careful. Make sure you take your profits when you get them, because sometimes these things run out of gas pretty quickly. So just be careful about that. All right, so let's see. TLT, huh? We're starting to look at that as something of interest. Wants to get to 155. Yeah, Austin, I would just say, be careful about the FOMC because, the FOMC can really affect bonds and, interest rates and all that kind of stuff, the way they talk. So, yes, the chart does look pretty good. Just be aware of what kind of movement there might be because of the Fed today. If we look at this on the weekly and the monthly, zoom in on that, what we've been seeing is price has been able to get past the monthly 10, and it's been able to get past the weekly 50. Now, what I would eventually be curious about, it's been holding the weekly 21, but what I would be curious to see is price kind of come up like this, and then we want to see it actually hold the 50 like that and then move up. And I'll show you kind of, I think the UUP, the dollar, has been a pretty good example of what that looks like. So if we look here, you can see that the dollar, scooch that down, you can see how the dollar came up past the weekly 50, and look, it's been holding the weekly 50. So it's been having to do some sideways movement to do that. So there's the possibility that TLT might need to do the same thing. If we go back to the TLT, yes, it looks pretty decent. As long as price can continue to hold the daily 50 with the 8 over the 21, then it's good to the upside. And here you go. There's actually a trampoline move right there. Price below the 50, but the Moxie indicator above 0. It's a trampoline move. And then we can see here, as long as price can continue to kind of hold the hourly 50 and move up, sure, TLT will go up. So just be careful if this thing doesn't want to do that. If it wants to start coming down and then down, just be aware that that's a possibility too. Yeah, so let's see. So a great call on fetch short. What we need to see is right here. We got price right here at a kind of a double, triple bottom. It's like a double bottom within a double bottom. And as long as price can continue to stay underneath these moving averages, I would say far-fetch is still short. Notice how price has been holding underneath the hourly 200. Notice how price has been holding underneath the hourly 50. If that can keep up, then yes, price will keep going down. The other thing is the 8 is still below the 21, and so far that is inclined to be bearish. Just be careful that there is an area of support here, and so we just need to make sure that price doesn't want to suddenly go back up like that. So if it's going to change the long side, you'll see price get back up over the hourly 50, kind of like it did here, and then you're going to see price hold the hourly 50, and then it'll continue to move up. So just kind of look out for that in case something like that's going to be happening. Now, a couple other ones that I'm looking at. Let's see, CAT. Another one that I just wanted to bring to you guys' attention about, hey, how do we make sure that we don't get into something that is going to be dropping on us, or if it is going to be dropping, that you're expecting it and you can be prepared for it. So with this, with CAT, we can see here it did bounce off of the daily 200, but then what did it do? It turned into an inverse trampoline move on the daily chart. Price should not be over the 50 if the Moxie indicator is below 0, which we can see here, and price was trying to move up across a downtrending daily 50. So that's another thing that doesn't really work. And once that kind of went through, you can see here it kind of kept fizzling. Notice here the 8 stayed below the 21, and then in through here, not quite an inverse trampoline move, but right here it started to get rejected by the hourly 50, continued to get rejected by the hourly 50, continued to get rejected by the hourly 50, and then just fell off. So This is if far-fetched is going to be moving like this, then sure, you can see here there's kind of a level, and it broke through that level, and it kept staying underneath those moving averages. So that's what I'm seeing for that one. All right, now another one that I was I think IP was very similar to that, and what we can see in this case was, again, price was trying to move up across a downtrending daily 50, and it was an inverse trampoline move. Price should not be over the 50 if the Moxie indicator is below 0, right? And so then what we could see here is, look, price tried to go higher on the hourly time frame, but look at this, we had negative divergence. So you kind of think about, what is Moxie trying to tell us? What is this indicator trying to communicate to us? And what we can see is it looks like, hey, price went higher, but the Moxie indicator is telling us, well, it didn't go higher on more energy. It actually went higher on less energy, and that's negative divergence. The other thing is, as price kept trying to move up here, notice how the Moxie indicator went red, green, red, green, red, green. And that's also communicating to you. This is why I've designed the indicator like this, because that is a pretty clear way to tell you, oh, green energy, negative energy, green energy, negative energy. You know, like, this should be consistent. If we're going to be seeing some strong moves for momentum, we want to see it all green, or we want to see it all green, you know, something like that. We don't want to see this kind of waffling of energy. That's telling us that something's weak. So not only did we have negative divergence, we had this kind of waffling of up, down, up, down, up, down energy until it finally broke and then ran into, or flagged into, the underside of a downtrending hourly 50. And you can see the same thing, flagged into the underside of a downtrending hourly 50. So pretty clear stuff out there to be careful with the short side, or, you know, just making sure that you're not going to get trapped into something like this. All right, then let's look at PIN, because I've actually been seeing some of these gaming stocks starting to look interesting. Now with PIN, what I could see originally, come on, there we go, is what I was seeing originally is that, hey, it looked to me like something was going to be running out of energy. If we look here, let me go over to the weekly and the monthly charts. So in through here, let me open that up. My concern was that this move up right here was into the underside of the weekly 50. It was also into the underside of the monthly 10. So that was that first situation. Like, yes, there was a nice bounce up like that. The other thing, and remember, I talk about the 8 and 21 all the time. This is on a weekly time frame, but you notice how the 8 is below the 21. So already I know that even if there's going to be an up move, it's going to be running into some resistance because it's just not ready to go yet. So we got that. And if you could see here, there was a big gap between price and the daily 50. And I talk all the time about the first move versus the second move, like price crossing up over the 50 and then coming back down to the 50. And you can see here, look at this. Price kept trying to go sideways, but notice that the Moxie indicator kept losing energy every single day. And that was telling me that, yeah, this thing looked like it was going to start rolling over. And I believe I mentioned this to the Moxie subscribers in our training room and all that kind of stuff when we were talking about it over the last, I guess, 2 weeks ago or so. Now, since that's happened, I now need to be looking at and saying, hey, is this pullback going to be into support? And is there actually going to be a long buying opportunity here? Because now that price has come back down here to the daily 50 and actually below the daily 50 with the Moxie indicator above 0, I need to see, is this actually going to be long? Is this going to be a trampoline move on the daily time frame? Now, it's just a possibility. As I look at this on the daily time frame, I see a maybe, and then I have to look lower to try and confirm that. And I look here on the hourly time frame. Do I see anything yet? No, because price is still below the underside, or below a downtrending hourly 50. The 8 is still below the 21, and the Moxie indicator is still below 0. But I'm looking, I'm waiting, because what I'm looking for is something like this. I want to see the Moxie indicator fire, I want to see the 8 get over the 21, and I want to see price get over the hourly 50. So I'm just watching to try and see if this is something that's going to be happening over here. So, all right, well, we got a couple more minutes. Let me take a look at BYND, as Jabir is asking. So let me take a look at the higher time frames, because I know the stock has generally been going down. I will caution about this one. You know, I'm assuming, you want to see if this thing is going to go long. I have a little bit of a tough time with that simply because it has been going down for quite some time. Now, maybe there's going to be a bounce. Maybe there's going to be a kind of a quick bounce. Be careful with that bounce because this thing generally is in a downtrend. So any bounce might get into resistance and sold into. But I do see that there is a double bottom right here. And I do see that price is kind of starting to pull away from the 8 EMA. So there is at least opportunity that maybe this is getting a little bit oversold on the weekly time frame. Now, if we go over here to, say, the daily and the hourly, we'll get a little bit closer view of this. I could see some possibilities that this might want to go up. One of them, let me move that. So one of them is that if you look here, we've got that double bottom, and we've got some positive divergence on the daily Moxie. You can even see that there's some divergence here on the hourly. So price down, Moxie indicator has been moving up the entire time. And then there was a bit of a dip right here. I guess that looks like yesterday or Monday. And then it's recovered pretty well today. Now, if this is going to be a move to the upside, what I really want to see is price continue to hold and follow the hourly 50 like that in order to go up. Because you run the risk that if this is going to work out for a little bit and then fail, price will move up. But then when it comes down, it won't hold the moving averages. And you'll see it just like this. You see how it failed through the hourly 50? You see how it failed through the hourly 50? Same thing here, failed through the hourly 50. So this is the caution and the concern I have with this is that if it works out, it will follow the moving averages. If it doesn't work out, it will fail below those moving averages. So that's really kind of the whole key to this thing is, hey, does it hold support and actually move to the upside? All right, then Uber, just kind of another fun one because I think this move is excessive. And I think that there is an opportunity, since this market's kind of weak, I think that there is an opportunity to possibly short this one. So I thought, I know that sometimes we've got some people out there who actually like it on the short side and that there might be an opportunity. So notice that this is basically the same thing I was seeing on PENN, P-E-N-N, right, on the weekly time frame. So with PENN, I said, hey, this move up was into resistance and it still had the 8 below the 21. And oftentimes I look at the 21 as resistance, and this is on a weekly time frame. We also even have some resistance here of price around the monthly 10. So this is kind of the backdrop that I see. A vertical move up, well, great. At some point, even if I wanted to go long, even if I thought this was setting up to go long, I still want to see price come back down to do a pullback. And so what we're looking here is I see that this thing has just gone straight up. That's pretty much unsustainable, right? And you can see here it's up here at the 3rd ATR. It's really up there. On the hourly chart, it's just vertical. It's outside of the 3rd ATR. It's just gone really, really far up. Probably a short squeeze. They came out with some good guidance, earned something with earnings, revenue. I don't know. I heard basically it was good news. And so shorts got squeezed. Well, what happens when you get all those shorts out and people don't want to keep buying anymore? Well, eventually I think this thing is going to fade on back down. Now, it could keep going lower. It could go to new all-time lows. But I think that at some point when this thing starts to roll over, I think there's an opportunity to go from where it is down to, I don't know, either the daily 50 or down to where its previous price area was. So $42, $40, something around there. Call it some arbitrage. Basically, this one I think would be a pretty good move to just kind of catch that fade down since vertical moves are unsupported and they do eventually fade back down. So keep an eye on that one. I think that one might be of interest, and we'll talk about it over the next couple weeks as we watch it. So, all right, well, thanks everyone. Do remember that we are over here at now on stockcharts.com. That's why I was showing you guys the platform and how it looked. I think it looks great. I've gotten my charts to actually look like what I want them to be on stock charts. And you guys can come over here. Now, I always get the question, I forget to answer it, but if you already have the Moxie indicator on Thinkorswim through us at Simpler Trading, we're going to give you a $200 store credit at Simpler Trading that you can use on anything at Simpler Trading. So since we are partnering with stockcharts.com, that's how we're going to be able to help out and say thank you to those who have already purchased with us at Simpler Trading and on Thinkorswim. So we've got some coupons for you guys. Just hit us up, talk to customer support, and we'll take